Hey guys, what's going on? So, Phantom Forces actually just dropped a insanely big update a couple days ago on the 29th to end out the month. And today we're going to take a little bit of time to actually break down what was changed because I'm being really serious here. A lot changed. I mean, just to start out with, we have 7 new Zarovian guns, as they like to call them. Along with that, we also saw a lot of balancing changes that some of which were expected and some of which were like, I didn't think this gun quite needed a nerf, but stuff happens. And then the suppressors and a lot of ammo types have completely changed. So this might be a little bit of a long video, but there's a lot to go over here. As Phantom Forces says in their little blurb of an update blog, there are 3 new LMGs, 1 new assault rifle, 2 new carbines, and 1 machine pistol. We're going to get to the new guns later. First, let's talk about the simple, easier things like the weapon rebalances and weapon renaming changes. First up, and this one is not surprising, this one deserved it, is the M60E6, which was extremely strong and had a crazy good range, has now been pretty much nerfed entirely into the ground. The damage dropped from 42 to 40. The vertical recoil variance increased by 2/3, so about 66%. The range dropped from 90 to 60 studs. The reload time went from 6.2 to 6.9 seconds. The walking speed decreased from 11.5 to 11. The aiming walking speed decreased from 6.3 to 6.1. And to make matters worse, the aiming speed, unequipped speed, and unsprint transition speed all dropped by 1 whole metric. So this gun was a really, really strong weapon for a little bit. The biggest benefit of this gun was the range was actually crazy, but now with the range being dropped all the way down to 60, it's kind of like not good. The range was the number one thing going for this gun, and without that, it kind of isn't a whole lot of anything. It's just a slower LMG now. So guns like the Stoner and the M249 are just going to be overall better in most capacities. I agree this gun needed a little bit of a nerf, but I think this was kind of crazy. Next up, we have the IA2 battle rifle, where the recoil has been pretty much entirely reworked. And it's been overall buffed a lot because it wasn't really usable before, to be completely honest. I mean, I don't even have any kills on it. I never even bothered to use it. So now the reload time has been decreased from 3 and 4 seconds to 2.9 and 3.9. The aiming speed has gone significantly up from 12 to 14. And same with the unequipped speed from 9 to 11. And the sprint transition speeds both got 1 whole unit faster. So now the IA2 has a lot more mobility and a lot more upward mobility because now it falls more into the other battle rifles with really high damage, and now it actually has significantly better mobility than a lot of them. So this makes it a lot more viable, even though it only has like 700 fire rate and sub 40 damage, which is on the lower side of some of the battle rifles. And the last major change is in the Tommy gun, where it's not significantly nerfed, but it definitely has some changes. The damage went up from 19 to 20, and there's less horizontal recoil, but now the range has dropped from 70 to 60. The long distance range is the biggest thing, which dropped from 170 to 120 studs. The torso multiplier went from 1.1 to 0.9, which is a huge nerf there. And the penetration dropped from 0.8 to 0.5, with a little bit more vertical recoil climb to adjust for the horizontal recoil. So overall, it got a little bit more damage, but now with the torso multiplier decrease, it kind of balances out, and unless you're hitting headshots, really, this gun, it's going to be a little bit worse now. I don't know why they went after the Tommy gun. I didn't think it was particularly overpowered in any capacity. But now it's actually significantly different than some of the other PDWs where it kind of blended in, so I think that's probably what they were going for here. There were just too many SMGs that kind of did the same thing. So now that there's one with a decreased torso multiplier and a lot more vertical recoil, where we've been seeing a lot of the American guns kind of drift towards mostly vertical recoil, less horizontal recoil, it's giving these kind of guns a little bit of continuity. And then there's a couple other guns that got small minor buffs or nerfs. such as the M16A2 E2 ACR, which was the XM ACR. This got slightly improved walking speed and aiming walking speed. However, on the flip side, the H-car got its firing rate decreased and overall range significantly decreased. Also, the XM Mars is now just the Mars. No stat changes at all. And in the same vein, the Deagles are now called Deagles again instead of Ravens. So we got the Deagle L5 and we got the Deagle 19. Personally, I'm really happy. I did not like the Ravens, so I'm significantly happier now that they're called the Deagles again. Okay, now we tackle the attachments. This is where there's going to be a lot of stats, and I'm going to try to go through them really fast. We're going to start out easy. Squad barrel has been nerfed so that all handling speeds are decreased by 10%. It was pretty strong. But the main focus of this update were the suppressors. Almost all the main suppressors have been completely reworked from scratch. So starting out, we have the duty suppressor. The duty suppressor kind of falls in between the light suppressor and medium suppressor without the walk speed penalty of the medium suppressor. So it hides you from the radar beyond 70 studs, decreases sound volume by 50%, increases damage ranges by 3.5%, muzzle velocity increased by 2.5%, a good amount of damping of all the different spreads and recoils, but now it decreases suppression by 50% and decreases aiming walk speed and overall handling speeds by 5%. The light suppressor hides you from the radar beyond 100 studs, decreasing sound volume by 50%, muzzle velocity by 1.5%, hip fire and a lot of recoil by 10% or 5%. It decreases suppression by 25% and decreases overall handling speeds by 2.5%. So pretty much just half of what the duty suppressor was if you want less downsides. The medium suppressor hides you from the radar beyond 50 studs, decreases sound volume by 50%, increasing all damage ranges by 6%, muzzle velocity by 3.5%, significantly helps a lot of the recoils and especially camera body recoil and recoil variants, and decreases overall walking and idle sway by 5%. However, it decreases suppression by 50%, walk speed by 2%, aiming walk speed by 5%, and overall handling speeds by 7.5%, which is a pretty big difference compared to the other ones so far. Having a hit in the walk speed and handling speeds is definitely damaging, but it really has a good increase in damage range. So I think a lot of weapons can still definitely benefit from this. Now we have the heavy suppressor, which hides you from the radar beyond 30 studs, decreases sound by 50%, and increases all damage range by 10%. This one increases muzzle velocity by 5%, and the hip fire spread dampening by 15%, and a lot of the recoil by anywhere from 6 to 12%. Camera body recoil has been decreased by 12% and overall walking and idle sway by 10%. But this decreases suppression by 75%, decreases walk speed and aiming walk speed by 6.5%, and overall handling speeds by 10%. So there's a huge walk speed and handling speed penalty, but the range and recoil benefits are really, really great. This suppressor can be really good on a lot of guns, if you're willing to give up a little bit of walk speed and handling. And then finally, we have the comp suppressor. The comp suppressor, instead of just being a suppressor like the other ones, is half compensator, half suppressor combination. So it's less effective in actually masking the sound, but it gives you a little bit more back in the recoil section. So this hides you from the radar beyond 80 studs, decreases sound volume by 50%, and only increases range by 2.5% and muzzle velocity by 3.5%. But it increases spread damping by 10%, and the big one is it decreases all camera body recoils by 25 to 40%. So it's a lot more than the other suppressors, but you don't really get the silent benefit, as 80 studs is a pretty big range. And then suppression is still decreased by 50%, walk speed by 2%, and aiming walk speed by 5%, with overall handling speeds down by 7.5%. And then one more change we can see in the hollow point, now increases range by 17.5%. Penetration is now down another 32.5%, and muzzle velocity is down 10 additional percent. All right, now we are going to move on to the weapons. Starting off, we have one new assault rifle in the AEK 971. This is a rank 197 assault rifle, And its biggest thing is that it has almost no vertical recoil. It has an above average fire rate of 900 RPM, low hipfire spread, and a pretty good 4-shot kill range. However, it definitely has a decent amount of horizontal recoil drift, and beyond 146 studs, it falls down to a 6-shot kill. When it's set to burst, however, the recoil is actually reduced by 40%, but there is a decent delay in between the bursts. But this gun also has access to 556 by 45mm ammo, which will rename the gun to the AEK-972. Overall, this will increase the damage range, but shorten the effective 4-shot power. The long distance damage is increased from 19 to 20, and the close-up range is increased from 55 to 65. But all of the recoil is increased by 10%, the close-up damage is decreased from 30 to 28, the long range is decreased from 155 to 145 studs, muzzle velocity is decreased by 100, and overall the hipfire is kind of shot, with hipfire spread increasing by 10%, damping decreasing by 5%, and recovery speed decreasing by 5%. It's definitely overall not a bad gun. It's weird in the fact that it's almost entirely horizontal recoil. But aside from that, the stats are really standard overall, with 900 RPM and standard multipliers with standard damage. I don't think it's a particularly amazing gun, but I think some people will definitely enjoy it more than others with the horizontal recoil. I think if built right, it can be very, very effective and have probably next to zero vertical. Next up, we're going to move on to the carbines. And first off, we have the AEK-973S, which, unsurprisingly, is the carbine version of the last rifle. With this gun, we're going to see very similar stats overall to the last rifle, but instead it's going to be chambered in 7.62 by 39mm, which will make it a lot stronger with more horizontal recoil. So again, we see little vertical recoil and a solid fire rate of 900 RPM, which is very, very high for a firearm using 7.62 by 39mm. The hipfire spread is pretty low overall, and it can 3-shot kill to a limited range. The penetration is very good overall at 1.4, and it actually has a higher aim walking speed than the AEK-971, which is due to the padded retractable stock that it comes with by stock. So overall, stat-wise, it's already significantly better. But then we get to the recoil with a lot of visual vertical recoil kicking and rising with a lot more horizontal recoil drift. The short damage ranges overall make sense. And this gun has the same idea with the burst fire mode having less recoil but has long delay in between bursts. I think this gun is a lot more viable than the 971, solely because of the different ammo that it's chambered in, doing a lot more damage. The other one had very little potential because it was stuck at a 4-hit kill all ranges. This one can actually 3-hit kill, along with having significantly better bullet performance. Yeah, the recoil is definitely significantly worse. I think that's a very reasonable trade-off for the better overall stats that you get. In terms of carbines, this kind of damage with a 900 fire rate and 30-round mag is really, really strong. I think this is definitely a very good carbine. It's just the issue of it being a rank 192 carbine is kind of tough to get to. But not nearly as difficult as the PKP BYCHOK. I'm gonna give you a heads up right now. I'm going to mispronounce some of these. This carbine, I know it doesn't look like a carbine, but it is a carbine, is unlocked at rank 254. This is essentially, we're gonna take a light machine gun, and we're gonna put 7.62 by 54mm in, and cut off a little bit of it here and there, and we're gonna call it a carbine. So this carbine has 100 rounds and 200 ammo in the reserve. It has an insanely high close-up damage and can 2-shot kill to the limb with hollow point. I mean, 44 damage up close is insane when you have 100 rounds. With all this, it even still has an average fire rate of 700 RPM with a very high penetration depth. And it has the best movement of the PK family. So of all the LMGs, this is the best movement speed overall and stuff. But then we have to think about the recoil, where it's going to be very high and is going to be very inaccurate overall. And actually going farther out, the damage drops to 24, which is very low for an LMG-esque gun. where theoretically you could actually be 5 hitting to kill. Naturally, as most 100 round guns are, it has a very, very long reload time, slower than the other LMGs. And I mean, that's honestly it. We're really seeing the main issue in the recoil, which is extremely unpredictable and unsurprisingly very, very strong. But honestly, I don't think that's too much of an issue when you're doing 44 damage up close, and then you get a torso multiplier and a headshot multiplier. I don't think it's too big of an issue that we're not seeing the best recoil. I will say the reload time is 7.6 seconds, and the empty reload time is 6.9 seconds. So it's actually better if you blow all 100 bullets. I just don't think most of the time that with a carbine you're going to be using all 100 bullets. I think most people are still going to treat this as an LMG just because of the overall stats. Okay, now we've seen the pseudo LMG. Let's move on to the actual LMGs. First up, we have the PKP PECHENEG. This is actually an offshoot of the PKM, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's unlocked at a lower rank, which is pretty interesting. This, much like the carbine for whatever reason, has a 100 round box mag with 200 in reserve. And actually has a little bit less damage, but it's still high at 38 damage. With the highest fire rate of all the PKs, sitting at 800 RPM very comfortably. It has a high penetration depth and access to a lot of attachments, but the thing about the PK family is that none of them can actually equip grip attachments. The exception was the carbine, which kind of makes it unique in that way, but these next guns that we're going to talk about, the PKs, are not able to attach grips. Now, unsurprisingly, with the 800 RPM and 38 damage, we're going to see some really high and accurate recoil, actually more than the carbine. And then, obviously, at rank 161, it's still a very high unlock, but it is one of the lower ones of the new update, which is crazy. I don't know why. I get that they're trying to go for the numbers and like, oh, the AEK 999 should obviously be really high rank, but I'm not a huge fan that every single one is well into the 100, like well past 150. Again, we're seeing a poor minimum damage for this caliber at 25, but it will still 4-shot all ranges. And honestly, the main thing overall is the handling is terrible, terrible, terrible. It's a very heavy gun. I mean, overall, I think this is just significantly worse than the carbine version. But unfortunately, as pay-to-win Phantom Forces wants to be, it is 90 ranks earlier than the carbine. So it's definitely a better option in terms of what should I pre-buy. By the way, I would not recommend pre-buying this gun. I don't think it's good enough to warrant pre-buying. Not even close. All right, now let's move on to the PKM, which is, surprise, surprise, the original of the PK family. This is unlocked at rank 186, and with this we see the iconic 100 round box mag with the 200 ammo still. It's very high damage, up to 40, and is the most consistent of all the PKs. And here we actually see something interesting where the fire rate ramps up continuously from 600 to 700. So each shot increases at roughly 1.1 RPM. It has a very high penetration depth again, but we do not get access to grip attachments. It has a low starting fire rate of 600 RPM, which definitely isn't great. The fire rate as it ramps up, so it's kind of like a turbocharger in Apex Legends a little bit, but it cools off really, really fast. Reloading makes you lose around 50 RPM just because of how long the reload takes. And it's a high recoil gun, again. It's not nearly as bad as the PKP PECHENEG because of the 800 RPM, of course. But it's still a little unstable for 600 RPM. Again, the reload time is very long, especially on non-empty reloads, and it's very heavy still. The best part about the PKM versus the other PKs is that almost all the recoil is just vertical, which makes it so much easier to handle. Personally, this is my favorite of the PKs because it's rank 186. God, I can't believe I'm saying rank 186 is a good thing. But in comparison to the 254 one, I'm much happier looking at this. I think this is an extremely usable LMG, and I'd be comfortable pre-buying this. I think it's very solid for the stats it has, and it's very good at getting kills. And I think it's worth buying because it's more unique with the heating up and turbocharging kind of deal with the RPM. So it's not like every other gun in the game. And then we got our last LMG here in the AEK 999. This is unlocked at rank 222 and is the final gun of the PK family that we haven't gone over yet. The gimmick about this gun is that it mainly specializes in hipfire, which is pretty unique. And it also always comes with a suppressor, which is a very strong one, by the way, as it keeps you hidden from the radar beyond 30 studs. It is very high damage, very high penetration, good accuracy, as it has the lowest overall recoil of the PK family. The biggest downside of this gun is that there's not a lot in terms of customization. You can't equip barrel attachments other than the carbine barrel because of the suppressor, and you can't equip grip attachments. There is a 10/4.5 by 54mm ammo change, but mostly there's not really anything you can do in 3 of the categories in attachments, which kind of makes it a little boring. This, plus the slower fire rate at 650, slower for the class. It's still solid fire rate. But it has high recoil rise and horizontal drift, and poor minimum damage along with the other PKs, sitting at 25 again. And just overall heavy and slow reload speed. We see a lot of similarities between the PKs, not surprising by any metric. And again, I don't think it's worth pre-buying a rank 222 gun just so that you can hit fire a little bit better. But it does have a 1.5 headshot multiplier, so that's pretty good at least. A 1.5 times headshot multiplier with 39 damage up close. I can see where some people would be a huge fan of this gun. Alright, and then finally we have our last gun in the AEK 919K. This is a rank 191 machine pistol, actually. So this is a really good gun. It has low recoil, it's easy to use all the way out to medium range. It has good damage, keeping it at 32 out to 30 studs with a torso and 1.5 headshot multiplier. It has a solid fire rate of 900 RPM, great mobility and handling speeds, and can 3-shot kill torso up close. This, and it also has access to an extended stock, an extended magazine, and other helpful attachments. The only downside is it doesn't have access to armor-piercing hollow point or tracerless. And unfortunately, it can't 3-shot kill to the limb up close. Other than that, though, I think this is probably one of the best pistols in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I looked at the stats initially and I was like, what are we doing? It's just a lot better than a lot of the other machine pistols. It's got 20 bullets and no recoil and 900 fire rate with 3 shots to the torso up close. This is a perfect machine pistol, pretty much. Oh, and it also comes with a unique suppressor called the PMS suppressor. I mean, this suppressor is just really good overall. It increases the damage range, it increases the headshot multiplier, it increases muzzle velocity, hip fire spread damping, walking and idle sway, and then gives a 30 stud radar masking range. The only thing you really miss out on is a little bit of handling and a little bit of long range damage. But honestly, you're not using this for long range anyways. I think the AEK 919 with this suppressor is just, it's going to be a go-to secondary now. I think they've made this gun too good for it not to be used. But yeah, aside from a lot of bug changes here or there, that's every major thing that came with this new update. Wow, that was a lot. If you actually watched until the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something or maybe decided, yeah, I'm going to pre-buy this gun. Or maybe I don't want to get the Thompson anymore. Or as long as you came out of this with some takeaway, I'm happy that this video was made. If you guys want to see any videos coming up in the future, I'm trying to get a lot more long-form videos out. So we'll be seeing more videos like this, but especially more like top 5, 2026 edition, like 8 to 10 minute video ranges. So let me know in the comments what you guys want to see specifically. And if you aren't already, please subscribe. We're on the road to 10K. We're so close. I would love if anybody watching could help contribute just a little bit. Every bit counts. And thank you so much for watching this video too. I hope you all have an amazing day, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.